Love, exciting and new. Come aboard, we're expecting you. Love, life's sweetest reward. Let it flow, it flows back to you. And at least in the 1970s and 1980s, that was the dream to join Isaac, Doc, Vicky, Julie, and Captain Murray Stubing aboard an ocean liner taking a cruise to some exotic destination. But multiple incidents, particularly the recent coronavirus, have changed that picture. And experts like Dr. Anthony Fauci have used these examples of persons confined in close quarters to promote the concern that a general order across the nation should be imposed to prevent folks from interacting and contracting a deadly virus on a love boat called the USA. And recently, Dr. Fauci got on CNN and stated authoritatively as a doctor that he does not understand why the president has left it to the states to decide how they wish to handle the pandemic crisis within the regions of their sovereignty, and called arguments about federalism avoiding the issue. But actually, there is a document called the Constitution, after which even a seagoing vessel was named, that says that the president actually would be not just abusing his power, but exceeding his powers under it, if he were to do that. Perhaps the good doctor did not learn that in civics, or got so emotional that he forgot that he never completed his law degree before saying that on a hot mic on the news. But hammering the doc for being the same guy who played the chaos agent Siegfried on Get Smart on the Love Boat would be going overboard. So let's just 86 that and shove off. Now, in the law, when an attorney says the shipping cases, this connotes a special meaning, like a term of art, as lawyers say. And in the mind of a trained attorney, the first thought that will pop to his or her mind are the sailors who dumped cargo overboard to save themselves during a storm, or the castaways stranded in a raft who ran out of food and had to resort to cannibalism, and raised the defense of necessity in court. And the law regarding the defense of necessity in the Commonwealth of Virginia is abundantly clear on this point. In fact, on September 6, 1988, Judge Barrow, writing the opinion for the appeals court in Buckley v. City of Falls Church, wrote in this criminal appeal, "We decide that necessity is not a defense to a charge of trespassing on the premises of a woman's medical clinic in order to give anti-abortion literature to patients considering an abortion. The defense of necessity is not available to these defendants since there were reasonable and legal alternatives to their violation of law. The defense of necessity traditionally addresses the dilemma created when physical forces beyond the actor's control render illegal conduct the lesser of two evils." Quoting U.S. v. Bailey, a United States Supreme Court case decided in 1980. Affirming this decision of the trial court, Judge Barrow held, since there were reasonable legal alternatives to trespass that would have achieved the defendant's purposes, we hold that the defense of necessity is not available to them. Thus, the trial court did not err in prohibiting the defendants from presenting the defense of necessity, and we affirm the convictions. So to be perfectly clear, we are not in an intellectual discourse about those shipping cases and the defense of necessity, but there may be some anecdotal connection. All assured? Who's going? Sure. Trying to stay with the theme. Yet on March 26, 2020, the Centers for Disease Control, CDC, a health authority upon whom Governor Ralph Northam and Dr. Norman Oliver rely, stated cruise ships are often settings for outbreaks of infectious diseases because of their closed environment and contact between travelers from many countries. And a physician relies on such general clinical findings to support treatment decisions in analogous fact patterns, such as the 154,892 diverse from many countries apartment renters in Virginia's 8th Congressional District, residing in a closed environment now for extended periods subjected to a recent stay-at-home order, enjoying life aboard exotic destination that they have chosen to make in their homes. And according to the latest figures to tell us who these people are, from TransUnion, these getaway adventurers on average have a credit rating of about 650, having recently declined by 14% between 2016 and 2017, a figure that exceeds what was reported as a sharp decline in church membership over the last decade, 12%, according to the Pew Research Foundation. Just last year, they reported this. And during a year in which 91 of the largest cities incurred rent increases, with rent being assigned to almost 30% of their monthly income for this less than credit-worthy demographic. Poor people, diverse people in apartments, like the passengers and steerage aboard the Titanic. The Pew Research reports that over 36% of Americans are renters, 36% in steerage, the highest since 1965, and only 32% of them do so by choice, with 65% frustrated in purchasing a private home because of financial considerations restricted by credit or unaware that home purchase has become the more affordable choice in America over renting. And so, also did stink from a half century ago. Renters now include a larger proportion of persons between the ages of 45 and 64, exactly inside those populations in which COVID starts to become most fatal. Nor is injury isolated to this demographic, because almost 3/4 of those rental units that they are in are investment properties for more affluent Americans who may be having some vacancies coming up in the coming year. And now, having set a course for adventure, a mind on a new romance, Dr. Ralph Northam has placed lower income residents on what may, in pandemic crisis, be the cruise of a lifetime, if the novel virus happens to come aboard and there are no plans in place to prevent that. Perhaps it is just coincidence that on yesterday, coincident with the filing of a challenge to that emergency public health order issued by Virginia Governor on March 17, 2020, Dr. Anthony Fauci questioned why the president has not yet mandated a national lockdown, dismissing the federalism framework embodied in the Constitution, because what a doctor says evidently subordinates the Constitution. While at the same time, USA Today reported that 90% of Americans approve of social distancing policy, relying not on public opinion polls of actual people, but the numbers of state governors that have initiated lockdown orders. There's a big difference between people and state governors. It is a statistical significance that the incidence of disease and mortality rates in states that have not yet rescinded liberty is no less and no greater than states like Virginia, who have ordered their citizens to house arrest inside their homes. And also indicative that we are not addressing how this virus is actually proliferating, which appears to be not proliferating on a biological, scientific, based on probability model, but more like a engagement based upon tactical and strategic considerations in the military. Perhaps after a pandemic crisis has passed, it will be a great time to celebrate on a cruise in the Caribbean. But in November, by God, let's make America great again. Honest. This advertisement was authorized by Mike Webb.